My family spread lies that I abandoned my sister, the child they never wanted, as I sat silently at her trial, until the judge locked eyes with me and whispered, "Wait, you're the Attorney General?" I'm crouched in the back row of Courtroom 3 in Willow Creek, Oregon, my heart slamming against my ribs like a trapped animal. The air smells of stale coffee and polished wood, but all I can focus on is the cold steel of a gun pressed against my sister Lily's temple. She's in an orange jumpsuit, her wrists cuffed, her face gaunt and unrecognizable under the harsh fluorescent lights. The gunman, a wiry man with wild eyes and a twitchy trigger finger, screams at the judge, demanding a deal to free his brother, another defendant in this drug trafficking circus. I'm Emily Harper, 36, the district attorney of this sleepy county, but nobody here knows that. I'm just a shadow in a baseball cap and glasses, my identity buried under layers of secrecy to avoid the media storm. One wrong move in my carefully guarded life, my career, my past, my fractured bond with Lily, will explode in front of this packed courtroom. The gunman's gaze sweeps the room, and for a split second, our eyes lock. My breath catches. Does he know who I am? Does he sense the truth I've fought so hard to hide? The clock ticks, each second a hammer blow. The courtroom is a frozen tableau, reporters clutching notepads, families gripping each other's hands, the judge's gavel hovering mid-air. Lily's eyes, those same blue eyes I used to sing to sleep, dart toward me wide with terror. She doesn't know I'm here. Doesn't know I've been watching her spiral for years, helpless to stop it. The gunman's voice cracks like a whip. "You let my brother go, or she's done." My fingers dig into the wooden bench, splintering my nails. I want to scream, to lunge forward, to tear Lily from his grip. But I'm paralyzed, not by fear of the gun, but by the weight of our past. The whispers of my family echo in my head. "You failed her, Emily. You abandoned her. I raised Lily when our parents were ghosts, sacrificed my childhood to give her a chance, and yet here we are, her in cuffs, me hiding in plain sight, both of us trapped in a story neither of us wrote." Let me take you back to where it all began, to the roots of this mess, because to understand why I'm here, risking everything, you need to know the whole damn truth. Willow Creek, Oregon is the kind of town you see in postcards. Rolling hills, cedar forests, a main street with a diner and a hardware store that's been there since the 50s. Our house on Cedar Lane was picture perfect, a ranch style with a wraparound porch, a tire swing dangling from an oak tree, wildflowers spilling over the fence. From the outside, we were the American dream. Inside, a nightmare. My parents, Susan and Mark Harper, were less parents and more like roommates who forgot they had kids. Mom was a part-time librarian who spent her evenings drowning in vodka tonics, her eyes glassy by 6 p.m. Dad, a mechanic, was either under a car at the garage or parked in front of the TV, a beer can fortress growing around him. By the time I was 8, I was the one keeping the lights on. Literally and figuratively. I learned to cook at 8, not because I wanted to, but because nobody else would. Instant noodles, mac and cheese from a box, maybe a PB&J if we had bread. I'd stand on a stool to reach the stove, my small hands shaking as I stirred, praying I wouldn't burn the house down. By 10, I was doing laundry, scrubbing dishes, paying bills with Mom's checkbook when she passed out. I forged her signature so well the bank never blinked. We weren't starving. Mom's job and Dad's sporadic paychecks covered the basics, but love, attention, guidance, those were luxuries we didn't have. I didn't know what a family dinner felt like, what it meant to have someone ask about my day. I was a kid playing adult, and I was damn good at it. Then Lily came along. I was 12, on the cusp of becoming a teenager, when Mom announced she was pregnant. She wasn't happy about it. Neither was Dad. I overheard them arguing one night, Mom slurring, "We can't afford another one, Mark." Dad just grunted, "Figure it out." But me? I was over the moon. A baby sister. Someone to love. Someone who'd love me back. I scoured yard sales for cribs and onesies, my allowance a crumpled pile of singles and quarters. I read parenting books from the library, dog-earing pages on diaper changes and feeding schedules. When Lily was born on a stormy October night, tiny and pink with a shock of dark hair, I held her in the hospital and felt something shift inside me. This was my purpose. I'd protect her, give her the childhood I never had. From the moment we brought her home, I was her mother in all but name. Mom's postpartum depression was a black hole, untreated and ignored. She'd lock herself in her room, leaving me to handle midnight feedings. Dad worked longer hours, claiming overtime, but I knew he was avoiding the crying baby and the chaos at home. At 12, I was changing diapers, mixing formula, singing lullabies I'd made up on the spot. I'd rock Lily to sleep, her tiny hand curled around my finger, and whisper promises. "You'll be okay, Lil. I've got you." School was my only escape, but even there I was always on a timer, racing home to check on Lily. My teachers noticed. My clothes were often wrinkled, my eyes shadowed from exhaustion, but I deflected their questions. "Mom's just tired," I'd say. "Dad's working late." I was terrified of social services, of losing Lily to foster care. I'd seen what happened to kids in the system, and I wouldn't let that be her fate. At 14, disaster struck. I came home from school to find the kitchen engulfed in flames. Mom, drunk and careless, had left a pan of oil on the stove. The fire roared, licking the curtains, smoke choking the air. Lily, barely 2, was screaming in her crib upstairs. I didn't think. I just ran. The heat seared my skin as I bolted through the living room, up the stairs, and scooped Lily into my arms. I wrapped her in a blanket, coughing, my eyes streaming, and stumbled out the back door as the fire alarms wailed. We sat on the grass, Lily clinging to me as firefighters doused the blaze. The kitchen was gutted, but we were alive. Mom sobbed apologies, but they were hollow. Dad didn't even come home that night. I was the one who called the insurance company, who cleaned up the ash-soaked debris, who made sure Lily had a place to sleep. By 16, I was working nights at Rosie's Diner, slinging burgers and fries to truckers and locals. Every cent went to Lily. New shoes when hers got tight, crayons for her drawings, a doll for her birthday so she wouldn't feel left out at school. Money was always tight. One winter when Dad got laid off, the heat was shut off. The house was an icebox, our breath visible in the air. I stole blankets from a thrift store, slipping them under my coat, guilt gnawing at me but Lily's shivering body outweighing my conscience. I'd wrap her up, read her stories about princesses and dragons, and pretend we were on a grand adventure in the Arctic. Her giggles kept me going even when I felt like I was breaking. That same winter, I faced another kind of danger. Walking home from the diner one night, my tips stuffed in my pocket, I was cornered by 2 local punks in an alley. They were older, maybe 19, with mean eyes and switchblades glinting under the streetlight. "Hand it over, kid," one growled, stepping closer. My heart raced, but I thought of Lily, of the shoes she needed, the groceries we couldn't afford. I grabbed a broken bottle from the ground, holding it like a weapon, my voice shaking but firm. "Back off, or I swear I'll cut you." They laughed, but something in my eyes, desperation, maybe, made them hesitate. I bolted, running until my lungs burned, collapsing at home with the money still mine. I never told anyone, not even Lily. She didn't need to know how close we'd come to losing everything. The emotional weight was crushing. While other kids went to prom or football games, I was budgeting groceries, helping Lily with her ABCs, and praying Mom wouldn't burn the house down again. I cried myself to sleep most nights, curled up in the dark, but I never let Lily see. To her, I was her rock, her big sister who could fix anything. My parents, when I dared confront them, brushed me off. "You're so good with her," Mom would slur as if that excused her absence. "She loves you more anyway," Dad would mutter, popping another beer. They acted like my role was a choice, not a necessity forced on a kid too young to know better. Sybil was my lifeline. I buried myself in books, acing every test, because education was my way out, not just for me, but for Lily. My guidance counselor, Mrs. Evans, saw through my facade. One day during junior year, she caught me asleep in the library, my face pressed against a textbook. "Emily, you're killing yourself," she said, her voice gentle but firm. "What's going on at home?" I broke down, spilling everything. The neglect, the fire, raising Lily. I expected her to call social services, to rip my world apart. Instead, she listened. She helped me apply for scholarships, mapping out a future where I could build a life for both of us. "You're not just saving yourself," she said. "You're saving Lily, too." But the path forward wasn't easy. My acceptance to the University of Oregon on a full ride was a triumph and a terror. Leaving meant trusting Mom and Dad to step up, something they'd never done. I was 17, staring down the barrel of an impossible choice: stay and drown in Willow Creek's quicksand, or go and risk losing Lily. Then came the blackmail. A social worker, Mrs. Callahan, had been sniffing around, asking questions about Lily's care. One evening, she showed up at our door, her smile too sharp. "I could file a report," she said, eyeing my college acceptance letter on the counter. "Or you could sign over your savings, and I'll look the other way." My savings? Every penny from the diner scraped together for Lily's future. I refused, my voice trembling with rage. "Do it!" I dared her. "I'll fight you in court." She backed off, but the threat hung over me, a reminder of how precarious our lives were. I sat Mom and Dad down, treating them like business partners, not parents. I typed up a contract, simple, ironclad, listing their duties: feed Lily, get her to school, keep her safe. "If you don't," I said, my voice cold, "I'll come back and sue you for neglect. I'll take her away." They signed, Mom with a flicker of guilt, Dad with a scowl. I didn't trust them, but I had no choice. Leaving Lily was like tearing out my heart. She was 8, all gap-toothed smiles and endless questions. "Why can't I come with you?" she sobbed, clinging to my waist. I knelt, wiping her tears. "College is just for big people, Lil, but I'm doing this for us. I'll get a good job and we'll live together, just you and me. Promise?" She nodded, her little hands squeezing mine. "Promise, Emmy." I packed her favorite stuffed bunny, wrote her notes to open on tough days, and bought her a cheap cell phone with my number programmed in. Driving away from Willow Creek, I sobbed until I couldn't see the road. College was a different world. My roommate complained about her parents calling too often, while I structured my life around Sunday calls to Lily. I worked 20 hours a week at the campus bookstore, sending half my paycheck home. My classes, criminal justice, law, policy, lit a fire in me. I wanted to fix the systems that failed kids like us, to make sure no one else had to play parent at 12. Professor Clara Evans saw my hunger. "You've got a fire in you, Emily," she said. "Use it to change things." She became my mentor, guiding me toward a career in law. But danger followed me even there. My freshman year, a classmate named Derek became obsessed, leaving notes on my dorm door, following me to classes. One night, he cornered me outside the library, his breath sour with cheap beer. "You think you're better than me?" he hissed, grabbing my arm. I twisted free, my self-defense instincts from Willow Creek kicking in. I kneed him hard and ran, his shouts echoing behind me. I reported him, and he was expelled, but the fear lingered, a reminder that safety was never guaranteed. Lily's calls were my lifeline, but they started to change. At first she'd chatter about school, her friends, the stray cat she fed, but by my sophomore year she was distant, her answers short. "I'm fine," she'd say, her voice flat. When I asked to speak to Mom or Dad, they were curt. "She's okay, Emily, stop worrying." I knew something was wrong, but I was hundreds of miles away, powerless. During breaks, I'd drive home, only to find Lily scheduled for activities that kept us apart. When we did talk, she'd repeat things Mom said. "You left because you didn't want me. College was more important than us." I tried to explain, to tell her I was building a future for us, but the seeds of doubt had taken root. My senior year, I overheard Mom on the phone with Aunt Linda. "Emily abandoned her responsibilities," she said. "We're stuck raising the kid she promised to care for." The words hit like a punch. I confronted her, my voice shaking. "How dare you? Everything I've done is for Lily." Mom's eyes were cold. "You chose yourself, Emily. Own it." I wanted to scream that I'd been a child, forced to parent their child, but the narrative was set. To them, to Lily, to the whole damn town, I was the villain. Back in the courtroom, the gunman's shouting snaps me back to the present. Lily's eyes are locked on mine now, recognition dawning through her fear. The judge, Honorable Sarah Mitchell, a woman I've faced in court a dozen times, is trying to negotiate, her voice calm but strained. "Let the girl go," she says. "We can talk about your brother." The gunman laughs, a jagged sound. "No deals unless I walk out with him." My mind races. I'm the district attorney, but I'm also Lily's sister, and that bond, broken as it is, pulls me forward. I stand, slowly, my cap falling to the floor, my glasses in my hand. "Let her go," I say, my voice cutting through the silence. Every head turns. The gunman squints at me, confused. "Who the hell are you?" I step into the aisle, my heart a drumbeat. "I'm Emily Harper, district attorney, and she's my sister." The courtroom erupts, gasps, whispers, a reporter's pen skittering across the floor. Lily's eyes widen, a mix of shock and something else. Hope, maybe. My parents, sitting near the front, swivel in their seats, their faces pale. The gunman hesitates, his grip on Lily loosening for a split second. "It's enough." I lunge, tackling him to the ground, the gun skidding across the floor. Court officers swarm, pinning him down, and I crawl to Lily, pulling her into my arms. She's shaking, sobbing, and for the first time in years, she doesn't push me away. The judge bangs her gavel, calling for order, but the chaos is unstoppable. Reporters are shouting, cameras flashing, despite the no-modal rule. My parents stare, their carefully crafted lies crumbling in real time. Lily clings to me, whispering, "Emmy, why are you here?" I hold her tighter, my own tears falling. "Because I never stopped being your sister. The truth buried for so long is out, and there's no going back. What happens next? Whether we heal, whether I survive the fallout, depends on the choices we make in this fractured, fleeting moment." The courtroom is a haze of chaos as I clutch Lily, her orange jumpsuit rough against my skin, her sobs muffled against my shoulder. The gunman's pinned to the floor, his shouts drowned out by the clamor of court officers and reporters. My heart still racing from tackling him, from the moment I thought I'd lose her. Again. I'm Emily Harper, Oregon State Attorney General, but right now I'm just a sister, holding the only family I've ever truly had. Lily's trembling, her breath hitching, and for the first time in years, she doesn't pull away. "Emmy," she whispers, her voice raw, "you didn't leave me?" I shake my head, tears stinging my eyes. "Never, Lil. Never." But the courtroom's eyes are on us, and I feel the weight of exposure like a noose tightening. My parents, Susan and Mark, sit rigid in the front row, their faces a mask of shock and fury. The judge's gavel cracks like thunder, demanding order, but the damage is done. My secret, My connection to Lily, my past as her caretaker, is out, and the vultures are circling. As officers pull Lily from my arms to escort her back to holding, her eyes lock on mine, a flicker of something new in them. Doubt, maybe hope. "Don't go," she says, her voice barely audible. I nod, my throat too tight to speak. The judge, Honorable Sarah Mitchell, clears her throat, her sharp gaze cutting through the chaos. "Ms. Harper, this is highly irregular. Approach the bench." I step forward, every eye in the room boring into me, reporters scribbling furiously. My parents' stares burn hottest of all, their lies about my abandonment of Lily now teetering on the edge of collapse. I pass them without a glance, but Mom hisses, "You're ruining everything, Emily." I ignore her, my focus on the judge. "Your Honor," I say, my voice steady despite the storm inside. "I'm here as Lily's sister, not in any official capacity." I apologize for the disruption. Judge Mitchell's eyes narrow, assessing. "Your presence changes things, Miss Harper. We'll reconvene after a 30-minute recess. Counsel, my chambers." Now, the courtroom empties, and I'm swarmed by reporters in the hallway, their questions a barrage. "Are you influencing the case? Why hide your connection?" My security detail, led by my chief of staff, Rachel, forms a barrier, hustling me toward a side exit. "We need a statement, Emily," Rachel whispers, her face tense. This is a PR nightmare. I shake my head, my mind still on Lily's trembling hands. "Not yet. This isn't politics, it's personal." But as we slip into a waiting SUV, I know the truth. Personal and political are colliding, and I'm standing at ground zero. Back in my office at the state capitol, I collapse into my chair, the weight of the day crushing me. The news is already ablaze. Headlines screaming, Attorney General's secret sister in drug bust drama. My phone buzzes with texts from party leaders, worried about my campaign for governor next year. I mute it, staring at the only photo on my desk, me and Lily, ages 16 and 5, laughing by the river in Willow Creek, her gap-toothed smile, my arm around her. The last time we were whole. I trace her face, wondering how we got here, how the sister I raised became a stranger, how I became the villain in her story. The road to this moment started years ago, after I left for the University of Oregon. I'd promised Lily we'd be together again, but my parents' lies poisoned her against me. By the time she was 12, she'd bought their narrative hook, line, and sinker. Emily left because she didn't want me. When I graduated and returned to Willow Creek, ready to bring her to Portland, she was a sullen preteen, her blue eyes cold. "I'm not going anywhere," she'd snapped, clutching her phone like a shield. "My friends are here. My life is here." Mom, standing behind her, smirked. "You can't just waltz back in, Emily. She's settled." Settled? With parents who barely noticed her? I tried to argue, showing her pictures of the apartment I'd rented, the room I'd painted her favorite shade of blue, but Lily turned away, and my parents' words echoed, "You chose your career over her." I didn't give up. I sent letters, birthday cards, gifts, a stuffed bear, a necklace with a heart pendant. Most came back unopened, stamped, returned to sender. But I kept writing, kept calling, kept hoping. Then came the whispers from Willow Creek. Lily, at 16, was skipping school, drinking behind the gas station, running with a crowd known for peddling pills. I drove back one weekend, my heart in my throat, only to find her in a filthy apartment, sprawled on a couch, eyes glassy from what I knew was more than alcohol. "Lily, you need help," I pleaded, kneeling beside her. "Let me get you into rehab." She laughed, a bitter, broken sound. "Where were you when I needed you, Emmy? Go back to your perfect life. You're good at leaving." Her words cut deeper than any knife. But I didn't leave. I stayed, begging, until she screamed at me to get out, her voice echoing as I stumbled back to my car. That wasn't the only time danger found me. Driving to Willow Creek one night to check on her, my headlights caught two figures stepping onto the road, their faces hidden under hoodies. My gut screamed trouble. I slammed the gas, but a third figure appeared, waving a gun. Carjackers. My heart pounded as I floored it, running a red light, tires screeching, the gunman's shot ringing out and shattering my rear window. Didn't stop until I hit the highway, shaking so hard I could barely grip the wheel. I didn't tell Lily. She was already lost to me. But I set up a trust fund, depositing money every month, praying she'd use it one day to pull herself out. My career, meanwhile, was a different kind of battlefield. At 30, I became Willow Creek's district attorney, taking down drug rings and fighting for kids like Lily. But success came with enemies. After convicting a cartel leader, I found a note slipped under my office door. "You'll pay for this, Harper." The death threat was real enough to land me under police protection for weeks. My every move watched, my sleep haunted by the fear of a bullet. Then there was the rival attorney, James Carver, a slick lawyer with a vendetta. He dug into my past, sniffing out my family's dysfunction, threatening to leak it to the press to derail my career. "Small-town girl with a dirty secret," he sneered during a heated deposition. I stared him down, refusing to blink, but the pressure was relentless. The media was another beast. A tabloid, the Oregon Star, got wind of my family history, God knows how, and threatened to publish a tell-all. I met the editor in a dimly lit coffee shop, my voice low but firm. "Print it, and I'll sue you into oblivion," I said, bluffing with every ounce of courage I had. He backed off, but the close call left me paranoid, checking over my shoulder at every turn. Even my campaign for state attorney general was a minefield. My opponent, a seasoned politician, ran ads questioning my family values, digging at my lack of a husband or kids. "What's Harper hiding?" the commercials taunted. I didn't take the bait, focusing on my record, but the attacks stung, each one a reminder of the family I'd lost. Through it all, a shadowy figure kept appearing. At campaign rallies outside my office, always just out of reach, a man in a gray coat, his face half hidden, watching me with an intensity that made my skin crawl. Was he a reporter, a political operative, or something darker, tied to my parents' lies or Lily's dissent? I couldn't shake the feeling he knew more about me than I did myself. Then there was the mysterious ally, an anonymous donor who sent checks to my office marked, "For Lily." No name, no note, just thousands of dollars over the years. I traced the accounts, but they led to dead ends. Who was helping me, and why? The breaking point came with a news alert on my phone. Willow Creek woman arrested in multi-state drug bust. Lily's mugshot stared back at me, her face hollow, her eyes dead. She faced 20 years for trafficking heroin and laundering money through stolen identities. I couldn't breathe. Rachel, my chief of staff, found me staring at the screen, my hands shaking. "Emily, what do you need?" she asked softly. "I need to be there," I said, my voice barely a whisper. I went to the trial incognito, a baseball cap and glasses hiding my identity. But the gunman's intrusion blew it all apart. Now, as I sit in my office, the fallout is just beginning. The next morning, I'm summoned to an emergency meeting with party leaders. The conference room smells of coffee and tension, the table lined with suits who look like they've aged a decade overnight. "Emily, this is a disaster," says Tom Reynolds, the party chair, tossing a stack of newspapers onto the table. Headlines scream, "AG's sister a drug kingpin, Harper's family secrets exposed." I clench my jaw, forcing calm. I didn't influence the case. I was there as a sister, not the AG. Tom leans forward, his eyes hard. "Perception is reality, Emily. The public thinks you pulled strings. Your governor's race is hanging by a thread. I want to scream that I saved Lily's life, that I tackled a gunman to protect her, but I know it won't matter. Politics doesn't care about truth. Rachel slides me a draft statement, urging me to address the scandal head-on. I push it back. I'm not apologizing for being Lily's sister. I'll address it in court, not a press release. Tom slams his hand on the table. You're risking everything we've built. I meet his gaze unflinching. I've risked more than you'll ever know. The room falls silent, and I walk out, my heart pounding. Outside, the gray-coated stranger is there again, leaning against a lamppost across the street. Our eyes meet, and he slips into the crowd before I can move. My stomach twists. Who is he, and what does he want? Back at the courthouse, the trial resumes, but the atmosphere is electric, charged with the weight of my exposed identity. Reporters pack the gallery, their cameras barely contained by the judge's orders. Lily's led in, her face pale but her eyes clearer than yesterday. She glances at me and I nod, brev, hoping she sees the sister she hasn't acknowledged in years. My parents are there too, their expressions a mix of guilt and defiance. Mom's hands twist in her lap, Dad's jaw set like stone. They're about to testify, and I know what's coming. Their same old lie, the one that broke us. Susan takes the stand first, her voice dripping with rehearsed sorrow. We did everything for Lily, she says, dabbing at dry eyes, but she was devastated when her sister left for college. Emily abandoned her, and nothing we did could fill that void. The words are a knife twisting in old wounds. The prosecutor presses, and Dad takes the stand, piling on. Emily was like a mother to her, he says, his voice heavy with false regret. Then she chose her career over family. Lily's been lost ever since. The courtroom murmurs, the narrative sinking in. I grip the bench, my nails digging into the wood. They're rewriting history again, painting me as the villain to absolve themselves. But then, a twist. Lily's public defender, a young lawyer named Mia Torres, calls an unexpected witness, Mrs. Larson, Lily's fifth-grade teacher. She's older now, her hair gray, but her voice is steady as she holds up a small, worn notebook. This is Lily's diary from when she was 10, she says. She wrote about Emily, how she packed her lunches, braided her hair, worked nights to buy her clothes. Emily was her world. The courtroom gasps. I freeze, my heart in my throat. Lily's eyes widen, her hands trembling. Mrs. Larson reads aloud. Emmy's leaving for college, but she promised we'll be together again. I know she loves me. My vision blurs with tears. Lily kept that diary, a piece of our truth she never let go. The judge calls a recess, and I'm pulled into a side room with Lily, officers standing guard. She's shaking, her eyes searching mine. Why didn't you tell me? She asks, her voice breaking. You were the Attorney General. You could have fixed this. I shake my head, my voice soft. I didn't want special treatment to taint your case, Lil. And I never stopped trying to reach you. She looks down, her fingers tracing the edge of her cuffs. Mom and Dad said you left because you didn't want me. I believed them. Her voice cracks, and I reach for her hand, squeezing it. They lied, Lily. Everything I did was for us. She nods, tears falling, and for the first time I see a crack in the wall between us. But danger isn't done with me. That night, as I leave the courthouse, a black SUV tails me through Portland's rain-slicked streets. My driver, Thomas, notices first. We've got company, he says, his voice tight. I glance back, my pulse spiking. The SUV speeds up, its headlights blinding. Lose them, I say, gripping the seat. Thomas swerves through traffic, tires squealing, but the SUV stays close. Too close. A window rolls down, and I see the glint of a gun. Get down, Thomas yells, pushing my head below the dash as a shot shatters the side mirror. He takes a sharp turn into an alley, the SUV overshooting, and we escape into the night, my heart hammering. Was this tied to the cartel case? Or something closer, tied to my parents' sudden disappearance after the trial? The next day, Rachel hands me a note found at my parents' empty Willow Creek home. "You can't undo the past, Emily. We're done here." Cryptic, chilling, and gone. Susan and Mark vanished, leaving behind rumors they'd been skimming money from a local charity. Were they running from me, from Lily, or from their own secrets? The mystery gnaws at me, but I push it aside. Mia Torres meets me in private, her eyes sharp. "Lily's ready to cooperate," she says. "She'll testify against her suppliers for a reduced sentence." I nod, relief warring with fear. Testifying against a drug ring is a death sentence if the wrong people find out. The trial's final day is a circus. Reporters swarm, security tripled after the gunman incident. The prosecution, rattled by my testimony and Mrs. Larson's diary, offers a deal. Drop the trafficking and laundering charges for a guilty plea to possession and fraud, with a recommendation for intensive rehab and probation. Judge Mitchell's voice is grave. "Ms. Harper, this program is independent of your office, no conflict of interest." I nod, my throat tight. "I understand, Your Honor." She turns to Lily. "You're getting a second chance, Ms. Harper. Don't waste it." Lily nods, her eyes meeting mine, a silent promise. In a guarded conference room, we sit across from each other, the air heavy with years of pain. "I thought you hated me," Lily says, her voice small. "I hated you for leaving, but that diary, I kept it because it was the only thing that felt true." I swallow hard, reaching for her hand. "I never stopped loving you, Lil. Every step I took was to give us a better life." She cries, and so do I, the years melting away in that small, sterile room. "I'm sorry," she whispers. "I want to fix this." I pull her into a hug, awkward but real, and whisper, "We'll fix it together." 6 months later, the world has shifted. The media frenzy has faded, replaced by new scandals. My approval ratings after a dip climb as voters share their own stories of family strife and redemption. Lily's in rehab, her face fuller, her eyes bright. We meet bi-weekly, alternating between my office and her facility. Today, she walks into the state capitol, her jeans and sweater a far cry from the orange jumpsuit. "You're early," I tease, pouring tea. She grins, a shadow of her old self. They drill punctuality into us. 5 minutes early is on time. We laugh, the sound fragile, but real. She hands me a gift, a clay frame, painted blue, holding that same river photo from when she was 5. "I found it in my stuff," she says. "Kept it all these years." I choke up, pointing to the identical photo on my desk. "Me too, Lil. Always." We hug, the embrace less awkward now, and I know we're not fixed. Not yet, but we're building something new, brick by brick. At the launch of my Youth Resilience Initiative, Lily stands in the back, her presence a quiet triumph. The program, counseling, financial aid, mentorship for young caregivers, is my legacy born from our pain. As I speak to the crowd, our eyes meet, and her nod says everything. We're finding our way back. The stranger in the gray coat still lingers in my mind, as does my parents' cryptic note and the mysterious donor. Questions remain, but for now, I focus on Lily, on the bond we're rebuilding, on the hope that broken things can mend, even if the scars remain. The crowd applauds, and I smile, not for the cameras, but for the sister who's finally home.